More chips, don't let the salad win. That's the message in terms of nature of the food maybe that we consume in Wales.
It's Wrexham.
He's done it, the magic little man, Watkin. Oh, he scored! Steve Watkin has got a goal!
Ball breaks for Foden, it's in early, as Rush likes it, and he'll chase it, he'll collect it, Ian Rush!
Bennett, and that's a second for Wrexham. Well, classic, changing defence into attack.
Conley! 1-0 to Wrexham, Carl Conley's done it!
Crumble for options, put it back to Morels. Oh, it's a good save! Oh no, it is, and it's in the back of the net. Andy Morel. What a goal! What a goal! What a goal from Al Ross and Cardiff! Folks, good wake your kids up. Something special is happening here tonight. Wales are going into the semi-finals of the European Championship.
Wanagati, Ferguson has definitely won it for Wrexham now.
And here's Mendy! There's that race-class roll again! Saved by Foster!
Wales are going to the Euros next summer. Wilkinson's wonderful Welsh women.
Wales! Wales have done it! They've reached the World Cup! It's him again! Champions! Wrexham are promoted! They have their storybook ending!
The first team in history to eat more chips and not let salad win.
Hello and welcome to the Eat More Chips podcast, the official podcast, one of those recognisable flags in the Welsh football supporters universe. In a week when the Winter Olympics has been in full swing, even before Friday's opening ceremony at the San Siro in Milan, the build-up to the Winter Olympics in Italy has provided its fill of controversies. Athletes are always trying to find a competitive edge. This alleged attempt, dubbed Crotchgate by some, is more than bizarre. Why might ski jumpers be injecting an acid serum into their genitalia to artificially increase the size? It's nothing to do with bedroom gymnastics in the Olympic Village. According to Germany's Bild news site, claims were put that to the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, that it's been done to enlarge the skin suit surface area around the crotch to give ski jumpers a greater lift, to guide further in the pursuit of gold. WADA Director General Olivier Nagili said he was not aware of the claims on how it could improve performance, but he added, if anything was to come to the surface, we would look at anything that is actually doping related. We wouldn't address other means of enhancing performance. Rules were tightened after Norwegians were caught adding stitching to the crotch area of their suits during the World Championships last year. Well, if anyone needs help in the crotch area so they can get a decent jump, it's these two. It's Jamie and Daz.
I mean, every little helps. I mean, you know, I'd appreciate the help, but really, is that what science is being used for now? I mean,
apparently so. Inject acid into your dick, apparently, to win a goal.
Even though you've never been on the slopes, I think you'd be a natural skier.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, welcome.
Evening.
Good to see you both. Obviously, we're going to talk about last week's games, but the one thing I want to talk about very, very briefly is the fact that obviously Swansea City Women versus Wrexham Women was called off on Sunday at around about 10 to 12. Now, Llandarcy Academy of Sport, where they play their games, has a history of waterlogging. And games being called off for that reason. There were yellow weather warnings a number of days before, so we knew it was coming. Wrexham Women had gone down the day before and stayed overnight, so they were down there ready, and yet they didn't bother calling the game off until just before 12 o'clock. At this level, Daz, is this acceptable for professional level, top level of women's football? No contingencies? Or at least, I mean, when Wrexham had weather problems, when Cardiff were coming up to play at the Rock, they called it off the day before. They said, well, we don't want people to travel. It's dangerous and tiring. We know the match isn't going to be played because of the weather. We'll just call it off. Surely that somebody at the FAW has to look at this and go, hang on a second.
I mean, that's the thing, though. Traditionally, the game is called off when the referee inspects the pitch, and that's the standard affair across all 92 clubs of the Football League and Premier League. It's just these days with all the 3G pitches or whatever, and all the under pitch heating and stuff, you don't get frozen pitches and you don't get snow and all, for a lot of the top flights. So it happens less and less. Now waterlogging, obviously, that's a different kettle of fish. But I'm right in saying it's the 3G pitch they've got there. It is supposed to be an ordinary pitch, isn't it?
Yeah, they do. But I think they also have a grass pitch, and I think the 3G is reserved just for the men, and I think the women have to play on the grass pitch, I believe, but I don't. Quote me on that one.
Well, I mean, obviously, there's a question to be asked there, but even if that's not the case, I mean, I think. You're right. If you've got a weather warning, then there must be some indicators nice and early to be able to say this is unlikely to happen. We've seen it with Aberystwyth games on a Friday night because people are travelling after work. It often gets cancelled. But it's always been part of the history of the game, knowing that it could be cancelled on the way to the match. I've been to games that have been cancelled as you're travelling. But if you have a severe weather warning, that should give you the advance warning you need. So that it is a bit. I mean, maybe they just genuinely thought they could get away with it. They thought that the pitch would be okay. And I guess in the current schedule, cancelling it means a different problem later on down the line. So if you can keep playing or keep the fixture going ahead, then it's got to be worth it. But I don't know. I didn't see the state of the pitch. I don't know how bad it was, whether or not it was the 3G or the real turf. But yeah, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. But it's hard. It's hard to tell.
I mean, it's not the only game that's been called off this season, and Britain Ferry is another one that's renowned for it because of their pitch. But I mean, we're at the real sharp end of the season now, and games are coming thick and fast, Jamie. It now means that Wrexham are going to have to play a midweek. At 1 week, they're going to play Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday in this run-up. I mean, is this really going to hurt Wrexham Women, do you think? Or it's like, as Daz said, it's like, that's football. You just got to live with it and get on with it.
I think there is an element of it's football. It happens, doesn't it? The weather is one thing that we can't control. I do feel a little bit cynical about this, if I'm honest. I think there's a bit more to it than kind of meets the eye. I think it definitely benefits Swansea a lot more than Wrexham. But I know at the time you posted on the X account and said about contingencies and things, and my only thing is what contingencies can you have other than being allowed permission to use the 3G pitch that you think is maybe earmarked for the men? What can they do? The funding in this league is piss poor anyway, isn't it? So it's not, unfortunately, we well know that the standard of the pitches in this league is pretty shocking anyway. So there's not an awful lot that can be done, but without a doubt, like was clearly said by many people, I think even Mark Swale said, didn't he? The weather forecast was there for all to see. It could have been called off a lot sooner, which would have saved the travelling, the expense for the club, for the fans. But didn't Swansea have a game midweek?
They did.
Wednesday before.
They did.
Again, I'm just really cynical. Maybe it's just cynical in my old age, but I just think there was a bit more to it than meets the eye. And I think it definitely benefits Swansea and dare I say it, benefits Cardiff. Because, this is we spoke last week about the fact that we've got these two away fixtures first and they were going to be out of the way. Well, now it's going to have to be shoehorned somewhere in between, other games. So, yeah, not ideal, but, look, it is what it is. They just got to, whenever the game is rescheduled, just got to get on with it.
So Friday the 13th, Wrexham were in FA Cup action back at the Stoke Kairas as they played Ipswich Town in round 4 of the oldest and greatest domestic cup competition in the world. And I'm going to keep saying that because some people are saying a bit cynical about it, saying, the big clubs don't really interest in blah, blah. Nope, still the best cup competition in the world ever. So as far as I'm concerned, let's look at the lineup first, Jamie. For Ipswich, 5 changes from the loss to Millwall. Longman in for Kabore, Dobson in for Matty James. Obviously, James had to go off injured with a broken toe. Thomason in for Kakache. Kakache went off with a hamstring injury at the Millwall game, so he was replaced. Windass in for Sheaf and Smith in for Moore. We were expecting some rotation. Ipswich obviously did their rotation, 10 changes for them. Was this the kind of starting lineup you were expecting to see for the FA Cup, or do you think Parky actually gave us a few more teeth than you were expecting?
I'm not going to lie. When I saw both the lineups, my exact words were "fuck," because I knew my prediction was less likely to be a thing. The fact that we'd gone a lot stronger than I expected us to. I mean, don't get me wrong. As we've talked about these last few weeks, we have now assembled a very, very good quality squad. It's not just a team. It's we've got a very good squad of Championship players. So any variation of what he picks is going to be strong. But I did think we'd see. Keelan Dunn, Scar maybe. I didn't think Arthur would start in goal, etc., etc. So when I saw this team, fair play, this was very evident that Parky was taking this game seriously. But then on the other side of that coin, look, I think Ipswich have arguably got the best squad in the division. You could debate that till the cows come home, but a lot of people would probably agree with that. So them making 10 changes isn't exactly, it's not like putting a B team out, but the fact that they made 10 changes was pretty telling. That to me suggested that they were very much prioritising the league over the cup, which I suppose for them makes a lot more sense because they have got a genuine chance of getting automatic promotion, and the financial benefits that come with that are huge. So I can understand. But when I saw the 2 lineups, it was very evident that Parky really wanted it, and Kieran McKenna wasn't as arsed.
I mean, Daz, we do see this with the big clubs in the Premiership. They roll out many changes. Sometimes it's going fine because of the opposition. Sometimes it backfires massively. Do you think it's disrespectful to the competition to stick out 10 strangers, 9 strangers? I mean, not strangers, but 9 players, 10 players who don't play together?
Well, I was going to say, I'd like to think they're more than strangers. I mean, they do train together most weeks.
Absolutely. But they don't have necessarily full game time playing together as a team, do they? I mean, is it disrespectful to the FA Cup?
No, I don't think it's disrespectful. No, I think it's not disrespectful. I think your players shouldn't be in your squad if they're not decent enough. I mean, if you're carrying players that are that much weaker, then that's on you. I think that's on you, and you'll need them during the season. With all the cup games that these clubs have got to play, and the league, you have to trust that your strength in depth is there. So I don't think it's disrespectful of the tournament. I mean, I do think it might be a little bit of an underestimation of Wrexham, because I do think that. Or maybe there was an assumption that Wrexham would also field a slightly weakened team, and they felt they could probably get away with it. But I don't. I think it's okay to do that. I think squad rotation is okay. I mean, if you're putting out the under-21s, which many of the Prem teams used to do in the Carabao or the Carling or whichever version of the cup, is either historically and Liverpool and some of the big teams, a couple of years back, Liverpool virtually got to the final on the back of all the under-21s making the team. So that feels a little bit of a different thing. But you can see what they're doing there. They're blooding talent. They're trying to develop the squad for different reasons. But for the FA Cup at this stage, though, I mean, you'd think that both Wrexham and Ipswich see this as a huge opportunity. If I think you guys were kind of disappointed that you got Ipswich as the draw. So, so you take that to one side, apart from the fact that it's a great cup, but you wanted a big tie because it's then an occasion. It's an occasion to be either at a big stadium against a big name, or to invite a big team and have them at your cauldron is something quite exciting. Playing a team, literally, you're going to play again in a matter of days, does feel a little bit underwhelming and so slightly disappointing. But you then flip it and you go, well, this is an opportunity to get through to another round. You get the television money because it was, it was bound to be covered. You get to another chance of playing a big team, which you do. So I think there are benefits to it, and so that's on Ipswich. If they decided to weaken it and they underestimated Wrexham, and as the result goes, maybe that was a mistake.
Underestimate at your peril. Jamie, you were there on Friday night. I wasn't. Just before we actually talk about the game, some people have commented about atmosphere. This is a constant thing that kind of comes up. Now, you normally expect because it's a cup game against Ipswich, round 4. Cup nights are always normally really, really good at home. Did you feel that the atmosphere was a little bit flat on Friday night, or is that just some people being a little bit pessimistic?
I'm getting a little bit sick of talking about the atmosphere, to be honest. I mean, for the atmosphere to kind of to be full, if you like, it relies on some interaction with the away fans. There wasn't any, there was nothing from the Ipswich fans. I felt for them a little bit, to be honest with you, because the way their team performed, and I saw a lot of Ipswich fans commenting online about the fact that they didn't look arsed. The team that played, we just talked about the team that played, but the team that was on the pitch, they quite a few Ipswich fans sort of commented that they didn't look hungry, they didn't want it, and that's a long old trip, that is, to make on a Friday night, and then most of those will probably be doing it again a week later. But the Ipswich fans, as a fan group, offered nothing in the way of kind of generating atmosphere. The Wrexham side of things, it wasn't a great atmosphere, but I think you have to bear in mind that, and I've said this before, for me, a lot of the time, whatever's going on the pitch influences how the atmosphere then is fed. And it wasn't a particularly barnstorming game. It wasn't a bad game, but it wasn't a barnstorming game. It was fucking freezing, which is something that you've got to take into account. And you can say what you want. Whether the fact that the lack of the temporary cop stand, and I know we didn't have a cop for years, but that's been there for a couple of seasons. That's got to play a part by having a closed end. And when there's something to sing and chant about, then people do. I just don't. I just don't really understand. It was as full as it can be. Yes, there's the odd seat you see here and there, which was empty. But as a general, it was as full as it could be. But I just don't get this in this constant spotlight on the atmosphere. I've said this before. If I go to the game and my preferences, I'll be careful how I say this because it's kind of opening Pandora's box.
Don't poo in a box. Don't poo in a box.
No. I'm referring more to myself, right? Friday, I went to the game. I was looking forward to the game. I was looking forward to going to the game because I'd not had a particularly great week. I wasn't feeling particularly well in myself. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't want to cheer and I didn't want to sing. That would have been the last thing I wanted to do. I wanted to go to the game and I wanted to watch the game and just enjoy being out on my own for a few hours. And I shouldn't be persecuted for that. If I don't want to sing, I don't want to sing. And that's the same for everybody that's there. You could argue the toss and say, well, don't go then if you don't want to sing. But that's not you can still support the team. And when we scored, I jumped up and I cheered the same as everybody else. There were times during the game where I did have a sing song. But I just don't get this consistent need to police the atmosphere. It is what it is when the what's going on the pitch creates something that gets the crowd going, then we see it. That it happens. I think the only other thing that you could probably say about it, which is probably not helping it, is, and I know it's been commented by a few people, is the whole kind of PA system, the music, that side of things is not great. I mean, if I hear bloody what's that freaking song, Free From Desire, if I hear that one more time, I'm gonna rip my ears off the side of my head because I think we've only got 3 songs just on a loop, because that's all it ever seems to be.
Who didn't pay for the Spotify this month? Because obviously we looked at that.
I was going to say, you'd think with all the money that we've got, we could afford a premium Spotify premium subscription instead of the free version. But
have you ever been at an event where actually somebody was using a Spotify event and the tracks kept moving on ahead and people going like, what the hell's going on? And they found out that the person's account they were using was shared with their mother, and their mother was in the kitchen moving the tracks on, going, I don't like these, and they kept moving in the event. Now that's genuine sharing subscription issues.
But I think the very long-winded answer to your question, but the atmosphere wasn't amazing, but it hasn't been amazing all season. But then what you're benchmarking it against, to me, when there's something to cheer, people cheer. It is what it is.
Well, looking at the stats there, Ipswich 10 shots, none on target. I think that says it all. It wasn't a blockbuster by any way, shape, or form, to be honest with you. And watching it at home, it felt that way as well. So, I mean, Ipswich survived a major scare after just 47 seconds. Windass intercepted Alex Palmer's weak clearing header, although the goalkeeper recovered to keep out Sam Smith's subsequent shot. But they enjoyed numerous prolonged spells on the ball, although Captain George Hurst and Chubak Pom were unable to trouble Arthur Okonkwo with headers from close range, as they lacked a threat in front of goal. Having already been denied by Palmer with a shot from distance, Windass provided the vital touch on 34 minutes to put the hosts ahead. Ryan Longman kept the ball alive from George Thomason's overhit cross and duly whipped in a delivery towards Windass, who coolly guided the ball, almost kind of backheeled it into the net from 6 yards out. Wrexham very nearly made it 2 not long after that, only for Palmer to produce a spectacular one-handed save to keep Ollie Rathbone's curling strike out. I mean, the goal, let's talk about the goal first, Jamie. I mean, he doesn't smile, but boy, can he just tap him in, jink him in. I mean, great recovery, because I thought when the ball was overhit, I was kind of like, oh, really, again? Just put it in the box. But it was beautifully mopped up and then put straight back into action. Maybe that's part of the, that's what Parky's telling him to do. Yeah,
I mean, there were some good spells in that first half. There were some good spells of football. We had some good spells of possession. Excuse me. We've seen in recent weeks at times during games moving the ball around now with much more confidence and much more precision. There's far less, hoofing it forward like we've become a little bit known for. We've seen more and more this season that we're able to get the ball down and pass it around. And we had a few decent chances before the goal, like you say, the first one within a minute. But the goal itself, yes, it was, like you say, it was Longman who had a fairly decent game. To be fair, I thought it was had a pretty decent game. Picking the ball up and, like you say, putting it right in the mixer where it needed to be. I think Windass was fortunate. There was him and there was somebody else behind him. Sam Smith. So the two of them, they were quite fortunate because of the position. They were being kept onside by one Ipswich defender that had stayed in at the back post. But look, he's where he needed to be, and he finished it perfectly. Like you say, the whole celebration thing. We've moved past all that. We've talked to that to death. The bottom line is that he's shown us already this season that he's a very good footballer, isn't he? And it was a very straightforward but good finish. And then, like you say, the Ollie Rathbone chance after that, I was literally sitting on a diagonal to that, and as much as I was saying before about the fact that I wanted to just have a nice quiet evening watching the game, I was nearly sat on the bloke's knee in front of me, because I literally, as soon as that left his foot, I was up because I thought it was in, because I was right behind it. Hell of a strike. I mean, the amount of force he generates, from like a dead ball, pretty much, was unbelievable. And fair play. What a save! What an unbelievable save that was. But at 1-0 at half time, I thought we were very good value for that. Ipswich offered, surprisingly, even with 10 changes, they offered nothing. They offered very, very little.
I mean, Daz, BBC Wales, obviously live on BBC Wales on a Friday night, which is always great, watching the BBC Wales crew. Nathan Blake, obviously one of the pundits, who's blows the Wrexham trumpet a lot. I mean, he's predicted us to finish in 6th at the end of the season. He's predicted that from early on the Robin Blakey podcast that he does. So, you know, I absolutely loved it. I mean, but were you surprised? I mean, obviously I made a joke about Ipswich there on the stats, no shots on target for the whole match. Were you surprised, considering how much firepower Ipswich has, that they were pretty much toothless for that first half?
So, I mean, yeah. I mean, you'd think on their form they should have got some shots on target, but clearly that's where the impact of having a changed team comes in. But I guess McKenna's thinking, I need to give them competitive games to try and get get their eye in. And there's an example of where perhaps he saw this as an opportunity. So maybe he was giving these players an opportunity to, you know, test themselves. And I think there's credit to Wrexham in that sense. I mean, I think, you know, did well to defend most attacks pretty comfortably. There was that header across the face of the goal that should have, you know, wrong-footed Okonkwo, so that should have been an early goal. So that, but and then there was like some random overhead kicks or, you know, whatever, you know, but there wasn't really any real meaningful chances. So yeah, you know, you'd like to think they'd have done better, but I do think Wrexham actually held their own. I mean, they were well organised. Pretty much most of the. I mean, we know Wrexham's got that attacking threat and really like to push ahead and push on early on in games as well. So you'd have thought, you know, that would have been the case. But then looking at your stats there, I didn't feel that Ipswich had that possession quite so sort of, you know, I don't know, maybe thought it was the other way a little bit, but, you know, still, you know, good performances all round. But yeah, if you can only beat what's in front of you. You know?
Hey!
They did. I mean, they did have a lot of the ball, but it was very, very passive. It was very sideways. It was very backwards. It was very slow. There was no intensity in their play, which I've seen Ipswich a few times this season. And again, you have to caveat it with the fact that this wasn't like league Ipswich. But it was just it was really surprising. You know, they did have a lot of the ball, but they did nothing with it, or very little with it.
Yeah, but I've just clocked the significance of 13 touches inside the opposition box and then 13 shots. So it looks like every time Wrexham got in the box, they had a pop. You know, so whether or not that's part of the brief, that was simply because the Ipswich defence was so disorganized, or so, you know, or backed off so much, it gave Wrexham the confidence to have a go, and they could see the opportunities. But that's an unusual stat, that literally every time you enter the box, you're having a shot at goal. Okay, 5 on target, but still, you take those numbers before the start of the game easily.
Well, second half, Kieran McKenna brought on some subs because he obviously felt that the side that he had out wasn't doing enough, and they improved after the restart. Wrexham had survived a goal-mouth scramble. The visitors, Elkin Baggott, guided an effort wide of the back post from Ben Johnson's cross. Palmer had to be alert to keep out another Rathbone effort as Wrexham regained a foothold in the contest a bit later on. But Ipswich was struggling to carve out any clear openings, and the kind of game kind of sort of dribbled a bit to a conclusion. I mean, Ipswich in the last few minutes put the pressure on, but you know, you never felt truly in danger, I don't think, or I never did anyway. Wrexham held on for their first clean sheet in 9 home matches across all competitions. They moved to the 5th round for the first time since reaching the quarterfinals of the competition during the 96-97 season, where I almost broke Daz's telly. Sorry, Daz.
You almost. We're still friends because it was an almost.
Absolutely, you know. I threw a shoe at Chesterfield and nearly broke Daz's telly. Yeah. So
I bet you Sean Dyche would have still edited it away.
He probably would have. You're right. So Jamie, you know, as Daz has said, this isn't what you would consider to be prime Ipswich. I mean, did Wrexham just do enough? Or do you felt that Wrexham commanded the game, you know, met the challenge to win the game rather than Ipswich gave it to them, handed it to them?
No, they were very good value for the win. They absolutely deserved the win. They were the better team, and like Daz has just said, you can only beat what's in front of you. Ipswich chose to go down this route. You know, you could argue. You know, you could argue and say, should Wrexham have done the same? because yes, okay, we've won, we've got through to the next round, we've obviously got a plum tie again in the next round, but obviously this is going to have a knock-on effect to league fixtures now, and I suppose, you know, the thing you've got to ask yourself is, like I said at the start, I think Ipswich have chosen at this point in the competition to say, right, we'll put this team out. If we lose, we lose. We're not fussed, because our primary focus is the league. You know, and you could argue and say, should Wrexham have done the same? Because, you know, look, is there a chance, you know, Wrexham can get to the quarterfinals? Of course there is. You never say never. But are Ipswich or Wrexham going to win the FA Cup? No, you're not. Are you? You know, and you have to look at what's the priority.
Daz thinks we're going to win the FA Cup. Daz thinks we're going to win the FA Cup. He said, "Look, he's fine."
No. Okay. I was going to say something else, and I'll rephrase it. Okay. Would you prefer? Because I do think any team could look at Wigan, look at Cardiff getting through to the finals. You know, any team can get there. It's the potential. You never know. But if you get through to the playoffs of the championship and get promoted, I mean, do you want? I mean, it keeps coming back to this question: do you want promotion? I actually feel like a good cup. I think you're safe in the league now, right? There's no doubt. And I'm not saying you should now just cash in, you know, call it quits and just say we've had a lovely season so far, so we'll take our money for charity and we'll go home. You know,
it's had a lovely day, Jim.
Absolutely, day. Right. So that to me feels less important. Whereas as a good cup run is a standalone thing. It'll bring in some decent money. It's good profile for the team. It'll fill those extra episodes of the documentary that you need, because you know some of the episodes I imagine this season have been less interesting because you know you haven't had the highs and the lows in quite the same way this time. So put a cup run in, that'll make the viewing numbers really good. So, but when you want to have a go at trying to beat a Chelsea or a Liverpool or a City,
in principle, I wholeheartedly agree with you. The only reason why I'm slightly not 100% all in with you is just purely looking at this season in isolation. I've said it before over the last few weeks, you know, and look, if we don't get in the playoffs, we don't get in the playoffs. It doesn't matter. Just staying in this league is all that matters. But I keep saying the same thing every week, which is I just feel there is a massive opportunity this season with this championship, the way this championship is going. I'm not sure you're going to get this. You're not going to get it this close again. I don't think for a while. And I just like to say, do I want to go? Do I want to go up? I mean, don't we all? But do I want to go up? Probably not. You know what I mean? It's one of those. It's like asking me, do I want a brick in my nuts or in my face? It's like I'm not sure I want either, to be honest. But no, I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. We've had a decent run to this point, and you know, look, I'm chuffed to bits that we've beaten Ipswich and we're through to the next round. I just there's that. It's a open debate, isn't it? You could debate it till the cows come home whether, you know, should you concentrate on the league, should you concentrate on the cup run? I think where Parky's concerned, he wants it all. You know, fair play to him. When it comes to the cup, he goes all in. But then obviously we've had a game a few days later against Bristol, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then we've obviously got to play these again on Saturday. It's going to be a lot of the same players. Who knows? We'll see what we'll see.
Do we have to get a brick in the nuts if we get promoted? I didn't see that in the rules. I don't want that. I don't want a brick in the nuts. So our reward for the fifth round, first time, as I say, since 96-97, Chelsea at home, to be played on Saturday, and it's been confirmed today, Saturday, 7th of March. Kickoff at 5:45 p.m. GMT. So Saturday tea time, just before Doctor Who, after the Generation game. If you're mine and Daz's age, Jamie doesn't know what we're talking about.
I do know what you're talking about, but it's like I thought you were being serious. But when you said Doctor Who, I thought you were being serious. Is that still on?
No, it's not. It will be live on BBC One, and it will be live on TNT Sports in the UK, and all the usual channels around the world, I'm sure. Daz, so we're going to see all the Chelsea superstars then running out of the Stoke. No, we're not, are we? We're going to make loads of changes because they've got Aston Villa away on the Wednesday. They play us on the Saturday. They've got a Champions League tie on the Tuesday, and then they play Newcastle at home on the Saturday. So we're going to see the kids, aren't we?
Well, I'm not sure. I think you will see rotation. They already rotate. They already do that. So I don't think they're doing that, especially because it's Wrexham. They're doing that because, exactly as you just said, there's a whole load of games, and it didn't matter if they, pulled out Wrexham, Mansfield, or Arsenal or Liverpool. They would be making changes anyway. Now, does that change the combinations? Probably. I think with Champions League, that's obviously the cup that everybody's, financially and historically, is it more important than the league? Question mark, but it's the one that everybody wants to win. But if you're a brand new manager and you've got all this talent and you're getting your players back to full, because he has brought some stability to that team. It is quite an interesting sort of scenario that they've got there at Chelsea. Yes, he might put in a few kids in there, but when you say kids, they're still talented, incredibly talented players who are already playing Premier League games as it is. So I think that they'll turn up with a decent side. Now, whether or not, Wrexham of old, where the pitch would have been a bit rough and it was, a proper horrible place to go, might have been a bit frightening. But you've got an opportunity now to try and get that Wrexham crowd environment. I'll go back one step. I was gutted when there was still six balls still in the bag, and Liverpool came out literally the ball before Wrexham.
Absolutely.
And I just, we were just one off from the ultimate, glamour tie. I was a little bit disappointed, but we're away at Wolves, who, after last night's results against Arsenal, that's not going to be as easy a tie as I thought it was going to be. But Chelsea, I think, will still always turn up with a decent side, no matter what.
I think they will be shocked when they see the size of the away dressing room, to be honest with you.
For their egos, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, dream tie. I mean, we said, didn't we, before this thing, we just want some Premier League sides because that's what we want, and we pull, 2 out of 3, including Chelsea. To see Chelsea come to the Kairos, even a Chelsea with these players. I mean, there's a chance, isn't there? There's a chance.
Yeah,
but it's going to be tough.
When the drawing was made, I put on X. I put on paper we should get spanked, because we should. No matter what team they put out, we should get spanked. But it's the FA Cup. It's under the, it's going to be kind of technically under the lights. You never know. You never know. Look, I think the top Premier League teams now are very different to years ago, in the sense of years ago, they had a 15, 18 man top squad, and then for throwaway cup games, they would literally play the kids. That doesn't apply to this Chelsea team. I mean, it's a £1 billion squad, for crying out loud. Whoever they play is going to be a top player. I actually think he'll go quite strong for it. And I'll tell you the reason why is because I think realistically it's the only trophy they can win. As much as qualifying for the Champions League is vital, and I think that is probably, if you saw Liam Rossini's job description that he got when he got the job, probably qualifying for the Champions League is probably number 1. But winning a trophy probably number 2. And realistically, this is the only trophy they can win. If he's approaching it right, he should look at this game as being a winnable tie for them. There should be no threat. And I think
the Chelsea fans, I don't know why we're bothering turning up, because according to them, they're just going to walk through. So
yeah, I mean, my gut feeling is kind of what Daz just said. I think there will be 1 or 2 maybe lesser known of the squads will play, but it wouldn't surprise me if you've got a Caicedo in there, a Fernandes in there. The likes of Cole Palmer, for example, they might genuinely look at it from the point of view, well, Wrexham's pitch is like a carpet. There's no risk to him. It's not like he's playing at Grimsby or something. So even someone like that might get a run out. So it'll be fascinating to see what team he picks. But I actually think it'll be stronger than maybe a lot of us anticipate. But how many times we've seen it, how many times we talk about it, on a one-off game, knockout game, you never know.
So Daz has already said we're going to win the FA Cup, and you're saying we're going to beat Chelsea. I gotta love this optimism. If in this case, I definitely want to get promoted to the Premier League because we're going to win that as well. So midweek, we all slept our way over to Ashton Gate to play a Bristol City away. Jamie, 3 changes from the win over Ipswich Town. Kabori in for Longman, Sheaf in for Dobson, Broadhead in for Windass. Right amount of changes for you, do you think? Or I was expecting a few more to try and rest some players for Ipswich. Or has he rested players for Ipswich? Because he knows, obviously, that Ipswich game is potentially much, much more difficult.
I did expect a couple more changes. I thought there'd be a change in the back 3. I thought Scar would come in just to put some fresh legs in that back 3. Aside from that, I wasn't too surprised at the changes. And again, the early days of the season where the first 11 subject to fitness kind of picked itself. Like I say, we're blessed with a very, very good squad now. He can put whatever permutation he wants together, and it's quality lineup. Obviously there are a couple of positions which are a little bit thin on the ground, shall we say. Obviously, left wing back being one. That defensive midfield area is obviously losing. We've lost Matty James, which is a blow. But no, again, when I saw that team, no problems with that.
Well, I mean, I was there on Tuesday night. It was a bit of a weird one because we really dominated in the first half. I mean, Bristol City looked really, really poor. And, a fairly uneventful start. We were kind of passing around the back and trying to, make some infills and whatever. Wrexham slowly grew in confidence, gained more control as the first half were on. Vitek in goal was kept out a tame Doyle header. Wrexham eventually went ahead on 34 minutes. Doyle's cross struck George Tanner before falling into the path of Ollie Rathbone. And when that falls up to him 10 yards out, he don't miss. He lashes that in, and we go 1-0 up. I mean, Jamie, did you hope at that point, as I did? I'm thinking, right, okay, we kind of put these guys are nothing. We could take. I mean, this was wrong, by the way. But at that point, I thought these guys nothing. We can take these apart. Let's go in there, boot on the foot, on the throat. We've scored one. Let's go ahead. And didn't happen. Nothing materialised.
Well, the first thing, count yourself lucky that you were watching it from the ground and not from the TV, because I think the cameraman was on the moon.
Sabutio.
It was like a cross between Sabutio and 1992 Sensible Soccer. It was. I mean, if you're somebody that likes to look at the game from the perspective tactically, and you want a full view, it was great for those people. But to kind of watch the game as we're used to watching it on TV, God knows where the cameraman was, but it was such a bizarre position. But the first half, I think, I know I've seen and heard a few people suggest that was arguably our best half of football this season, home or away. It's hard to argue with that. I thought we were in complete control. You probably have to caveat it with the fact that Bristol City were terrible in that first half, and the fact that the home fans, the boos rang out at half time, kind of said everything you needed to know, and the fact that he then made 3 changes at the start of the second half kind of told you everything you needed to know. But again, you can only beat what's in front of you.
Yeah, it's twice in one pod.
It's and at the end of the day, in that first half, we did exactly what we needed to do. You're right. I think we felt our way into the game. It wasn't like a barnstorming, in at them from the first minute, but we controlled the game. We controlled big parts of the game. We created some decent chances, and eventually, Rathbone gets the goal. Some good work on that left-hand side. There's a little bit of fortune with the way the ball lands to Rathbone, because it got a deflection off a defender from Callum Doyle. But what a finish. I mean, honestly, whenever at the minute with Rathbone, who was the commentator, the famous commentator that commentated on the Wrexham Arsenal FA Cup game? Who was the commentator that day?
It was Brian. It wasn't John Motson. It was Barry.
Whoever it was.
Barry, help me out, Daz. What's his second name?
Yeah, it's Barry. Barry Davis.
Yeah. Davis. Thank you, Barry Davis.
Do you remember when Mickey Thomas scored that free kick, and as he's running away, he goes, "The magic little man."
Yeah.
And that every time Rathbone gets the ball now, I can just hear that commentary in my head because every game he's. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying for a second he's anywhere near Mickey Thomas yet, but he's got so many traits about his game.
He's a clone. He's almost a clone, Jamie.
I mean, since he's come back into the team, you know, he is, and I think we said this last week, he is not giving up that Player of the Season award lightly. He is, every minute he's played since he's been back, he's in the game, and he's on the game. Really difficult finish that was. Really difficult finish, and he put it away beautifully. So to go in at half time 1-0 up was absolutely justified, absolutely deserved. I know there was the contentious handball question from Bristol in that first half with Hyam. I think there were some decisions which we'll talk about in a minute in the second half which were iffy in our favour. I'm not having that as a penalty for me, not in a million years, because I just think the player's skill just completely flat-footed Hyam, and as he's turning round to see where the ball is, you know, I mean, you're getting to the point now with some of these handballs where literally you're going to have to get, tie straps on players and literally tie their arms to the side of their body.
Chop them off before the game.
Because it's ridiculous, this whole grey area of natural position and all that jazz. But as much as I'll be honest when we talk about some of the other decisions in the second half, for that one, I'm not having that as a penalty at all. But other than that, in the first half, we were absolutely more than good value for the 1-0 lead.
I mean, Daz, this is something that I've seen with Wrexham. Really, you know, we go in the first half, we are fairly, you know, overpowering. Absolute got the game by the scruff of the neck, but we only score one goal. Why do you think shouldn't Wrexham really be putting the gas on and doing 2-0, 3-0 and getting the game out of the opponent's reach early? Is that kind of a little bit kind of sloppy from that point of view?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what you should be doing. But I don't watch enough of the whole games week in, week out. I don't watch them all. But my guess is that with any team that's flies out of the blocks as fast as Wrexham does, you know, you are going to find teams with low blocks. They are going to be defensive. They're going to be organised, and as the team tires and stretches, and you know, it becomes a bit more of a contest. And so, yes, in theory, that's what they should be doing. But I'm not sure exactly how easy that is to do. But if you've got balls coming into dangerous areas, and you've got Rathbone just getting his timing right like that, then of course. And then there's been, there was a couple of shots on target, but actually it feels like, and just double checking your stats there now, there weren't that many shots on target. So I do think, there lies your problem is getting those numbers up, getting those numbers on target. Whether it's concentrating and developing and practicing finishing, I'm sure they must be doing that. So it's clear that defenses have been told to try and make sure you don't get your shots away or keep them limited or block them, whatever. But the stats suggest that you're not even getting those, as many of those as you should, really, compared to the dominance of the play that you were just talking about.
Just shows the stupidity of XG. Look, Bristol got 0.38 and scored 2 goals. XG's a waste of time. As Jamie rightly said, they got booed off at 45 minutes. Struber, their manager, sent on Armstrong, Delano, Bergzog and Knight for the second half, and boy, did they make a difference. Horvat forced Arthur Okonkwo into a smart save just 15 seconds after restart, as the host swiftly got on the front foot. Armstrong rifled beyond Okonkwo from a narrow angle a minute later, and then he ends his 7. I mean, he hadn't scored in 7 games, and rifles that ball in. I mean, Jamie, you could see it coming. You could see it coming. They came out that dressing room with obviously the manager's yells still ringing in their ears, going, "What are you doing? Get out there and put some pressure on them." And as soon as any pressure was put on us, within 2 minutes, it's all square. I mean, really.
Yeah, it was the worst possible start to the second half, and I think. Is it unfair to say Wrexham were a little bit naive? I think ultimately, common sense tells you that they were always going to come out of the blocks from the off in the second half, whether they made substitutions or not. The general feel of the performance in the first half, the boos from their fans. If you're a Wrexham player, surely, and I'm sure they would have discussed it at half time. Your common sense tells you they're going to come out of the blocks in the second half. They made those 3 changes, 2 of them being attacking players. It was there right in front of you, and literally from the off, they did that. Like you say, there was the save pretty much straight away, and then the goal we conceded was again. It will be one that Parky will review and will be disappointed to concede, because defensively it was poor. Callum Doyle, I think Doyle has been immense. Since we talked about this a few times, and I've been blowing the trumpet for Callum Doyle for weeks now. And I think he was decent again on Tuesday night, but that it was a poor mistake. If you look back at that, he's not committed to that tackle at all. And the guys nipped in front of him, and it's the one major probably downside to Callum Doyle's game is the fact that he does get caught up the field a lot. And as I suppose if you're a left wing back, you could probably get away with it a bit more. But if you, as one of the 3 left centre back, it's just going to leave huge gaps, and we haven't got the pace across the rest of the back line to cover it. And in fairness to the lad, it was a brilliant finish.
Why didn't Armstrong start? Why didn't he start? Because he obviously made a massive difference. I mean, he caused us nothing but trouble in the second half. Why didn't he start? I
don't know. I mean, he looked like Frank Bruno's love child, to be fair. He was massive.
He was huge. He was a big lad.
He was. And to be fair, and he was quick as well. Why didn't he start? I don't know. I'm sure the commentators said something about the fact that he's been coming back from an injury or something. So whether it was something to do that, I don't know. It can only be that, surely to God, because you wouldn't leave him out for any other reason. Because he absolutely, him and that Bergsorg just were a different level in the second half. But fair play to him, it was a hell of a finish. The ball out to him was a bit piss poor, to be fair. The sort of finish from that angle. No real criticism to Arthur, because he kind of put it in the one place where the only place he could. But they definitely rallied in that second half, and I think it took us a bit of time to try and get a grip back on the game. But I think we did eventually as the half went on. I think we grew more and more into the half, we eventually get that second goal.
Well, yeah, I mean, Broadhead and Armstrong both had efforts. I mean, I didn't think Broadhead played particularly well, to be brutally honest with you. I think he'd come back from stuff, but I don't know. But he seemed quite off it a lot of the time. I mean, Williams was replaced the injured Adam Randall for them, and Phil Parkinson then sent on Kiefer Moore, Josh Windass, George Dobson with 20 minutes remaining. And then Wrexham eventually regained the lead on the 76th minute as Issa Kabore's cross was turned into its own net by Williams. Now, we've seen on social media that some people are saying it shouldn't have been allowed. Lewis O'Brien was offside, a mile offside. Now, I believe, and please tell me if you think I'm wrong, the laws of offside are that if you don't touch the ball and you're not interfering with the ball, then you're not offside in the current rules. It's not like the old days.
Interfering with play, not interfering with the ball.
Okay, interfering with play. Thank you. It's the words are important.
Which is why I think they have a case.
Oh, Daz. I don't think they did because it didn't. It went straight to Kabore. It didn't go anywhere.
No,
near.
I know, but I'm not saying it's wrong, but I can see why they've got a case because he would have drawn the goalkeeper. He would have drawn attention, but I know it's the next phase, and it's because it's the next phase. That's where I think it's probably okay to give the goal.
He went for the ball though, didn't he? In that first phase, even though he didn't touch it, he went for it. He's look. You've got to be honest. He's absolutely offside. He's absolutely offside, and I was.
Well, this causes. I've got a problem with the offside rules anyway. I think they should go back to the old days where if you're offside, you're offside. Doesn't matter who it is. If you're offside, you're offside. Whether you're interfering with play or not. Every player should be behind the last player and the goalkeeper, and that's it. But they're going to change. They're talking about changing it now anyway. I mean,
to be fair, it was a proper Arsene Wenger offside, as in there was daylight between. Him and the last defender. Exactly. So it was a huge.
We thought they would blow up for it. I have to be honest, which is why we the celebration wasn't massive to begin with, because we thought as soon as it went in, I was looking over at the linesman. I thought he was going to flag, and he didn't. I mean, Jamie, did you see that in real time and think that's offside? It'll be chalked off.
I've got to be honest. In real time, I didn't really pick up on it being offside. But when I saw the first replay, it was very evident, and I can kind of understand the fury with it, because, like I say, I don't claim to know the rules inside and out, but for my money, it should have been given offside, because when that first ball comes in, he is well offside and he goes for the ball. Yes, he's completely missed it. The goalkeeper missed it. It goes to Kabore and it comes back in for, like you say, a second phase. But
he's not offside. Once he goes, he's back onside by the time he goes to play the ball. So, that's why it's given, but for me, because he's offside and he's going for it the first time, but he leaves it. It's that classic thing that when you sometimes see a ball played out to somebody who's offside, but then the wing back comes around the outside and they take the ball. That's what's happened here. Somebody else has received the ball and not the offside player. It's great. It's technically correct, but I get it. I get why they have an argument, but I
as an explanation, that makes a lot of sense, and that will explain why the goal was given. It's grey, isn't it? It's a very grey area. I think if the resulting goal comes, after two more phases of play, then you could argue and say, well, a lot's happened in between. But literally, the fact that was across the goal, he's missed it, it's gone to Kabore, and he's put it back in, and it's an own goal. I don't know, but for me, looking back on it, I thought it was offside, but like you say, you just explained the rule there, and you are our official referee. So I'll take your word for it. And to be fair, your explanation, your explanation makes sense. If that's correct, then that it totally explains why the officials didn't give it, and in which case, Bristol City fans are wrong.
If there was VAR would have ruled it out, wouldn't it?
Not necessarily.
It depends if Daz is right with his explanation there. Then
the only thing I can think of is that there's enough of a gap between the goalkeeper and that player being offside that he hasn't been held in his position because he's thinking, is this player going to strike the ball? And therefore, when it skips, he's left part of his goal line. It's actually gone so wide, the keeper has then moved over and they've set. So it's not as if they've been distracted, been drawn to, and then as soon as that ball's played for the next phase of play, that player is now back on side and he should be okay. So I get it. It feels weird. And I can see their argument, but I don't think it should be, scrapped off. I don't think it should be chalked off.
Either way, what a finish by the defender.
I mean, in defense of the defenders, as that there is somebody on his shoulder. He doesn't know that the ball's probably going to go behind him, but there is somebody behind. I can't remember who's on the back stick, but the ball would have come round and he would have been the wrong side of the, he'd have been goal side of the ball. So he was never going to get a tap in.
You can see the picture, top left there, Daz, is Kiefer Moore who's on the back.
Kiefer Moore.
Oh, was it Kiefer? Yeah, I watched it. I watched the highlights ages ago. But yeah, so Kiefer's coming in on his shoulder, but the ball would have gone. Kiefer got goal side of the ball, so he's never going to knock it in. So, but the defender doesn't know that. He has to do something. And we saw it in the FA Cup. Defenders feel that they have to do something because if you don't, somebody's getting a tap in. But it's a tough one, really tough one. But hey, you got to, you take them when you can.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, Wrexham would wrestle control back a little bit, and it was definitely becoming a bit more of a to and fro kind of game. Some beautiful, beautiful play on the edge of the box between Windass, Moore, beautiful backheel to Moore. It falls to George Dobson, and you're just thinking, you're 6 yards out, just slot it in. And he
Is that? Completely
balloons it and puts it wide.
He must be.
Jamie, literally, it was right in front of me. I could have got over the barrier and put it in.
He must be, honestly, must be having nightmares over that. I mean, the fact that he had another one later in the game, which actually was flagged offside, I'm so glad that it was flagged offside, because if that wouldn't have been offside and he'd missed that one as well, then I think he would have.
I think if it gone over the bar, if he'd skied it because he snatched at it, you'd almost kind of give him a little bit. He's gone for power, but unlucky. But the fact that it dribbles past the post is the bit.
I mean, the build-up play to that chance.
Oh,
I mean, we turned into
it, and it was beautiful to watch.
We turned into prime Brazil for 60 seconds. It was absolutely brilliant, and all it needed was that finish. I still can't believe he missed it, and I'm sure there's nobody that's more peeved about it than him. In all seriousness, though, I think at 2-1, and we've had scenarios like this in the season. That's the type of scenario where at the end of the season we might look back and reflect and say these were the chances that we need to become more clinical with. Because if he puts that in and we go 3-1, the game's over.
It's done.
But yeah, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe he missed it.
Well, as I say, Wrexham had control. Bristol had their moments, and you're just thinking, just see this out, boys. 2-1. You've managed to get back into the game, fantastic. And then another substitute, Bird, first outing in 5 months, volleyed Jason Knight's cross into the net via the underside of the crossbar in the 89th minute to make it 2-2. I mean, Daz, we've said this before. Somebody's done a stat. I'm not interested in the stat. How many points Wrexham have lost from winning positions? But we had the lead twice. And we gave it away twice. Now, I know, on what we've just said, strictly speaking, maybe that second goal might not have counted. So actually, 2-2, we should be thankful for that. But being in the lead twice, you've really got to win a game like that, haven't you?
Yeah. I mean, let's not underestimate. You're away from home, and I don't know what the Bristol City crowd are like, but they normally, can be pretty decent. But you go away, you're not sure this is necessarily going to be a given. And so to get the lead twice, you've got to take those chances. They're the games that make the difference. And then you go home and hopefully you build your fortress. But away games, when you've got that chance and you've got them and to have missed chances, you should be further ahead. You've got to keep your head in the game. And then if your head's turned in even slightly, but I'm gonna defend that finish again, like Rathbones, is as sweet a strike as that player may well have. I mean, probably the first time in 5 months, clearly. But the sweetest strike that player's done in a while. It was unstoppable. Strong words, but it was one of those that when a player hits a ball like that, so you've just got to make sure you stop players getting on the edge of the box and getting that amount of time. That's where that goal was lost. So that's disappointing. Where you just giving away the opportunity, giving them the opportunity to get shots on target. But yeah, go if you asked me before any away game, to get a draw and then go back is always your baseline that you aim for. But it felt like you had a chance here.
I mean, Jamie, I was going to ask that question. Where could Wrexham have stopped this goal? Was it cutting out the cross? Because they were starting to get a lot of crosses in, particularly from the Wrexham left. Was it shutting down Bird on the edge of the box? Where could we have stopped that goal?
Do you know what? I think sometimes you've just got to hold your hands up and you've just got to applaud and admire a goal sometimes. He literally wouldn't hit that again. You could give him another 1,000 goes and he probably wouldn't do that again. It's an absolutely unbelievable sweet strike. I thought it was a half volley at first. I didn't realise until I watched it back that it was a full-on volley. He's never going to hit a better shot than that in his life. So, sometimes I think you can, rather than trying to kind of overanalyze where you could have stopped it, you just got to tip your hat off sometimes to what is a quality finish.
I think though the cross is pulled back further than you normally would expect a cross to be pulled back.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that's where he intended that cross to go. When I watched it back, I don't think because if that's where he's intended his cross to go, then the cross is arguably as good as the strike, because it was more of a pass than a cross. But if you watch it in full speed, I think he's tried to whip that in, and it's just mishit it, and it's turned out to look like a very good pass cross.
Yeah, and your defensive line has tracked back. It's gone to the 6-yard line. It's done exactly what you expect from a corner, a cross from deep. But the fact that he's pulled it back into the space on the edge of the box, he has got the room to take the shot. So that they've just done their natural position, and they've taken ready for a cross. They're not necessarily focusing on the man, but it was a great cross, but it was surprising.
I mean, the thing is, you're right with what you say. That well-educated, sensible football brain that you've got on your head there, Daz. You're right. That point, if you isolate it, a point away from home, you should be happy with that. We've taken 4 points off Bristol City this season, who are a very well-established Championship team. But again, like we've talked about a few times this season, if you isolate the game on its own, you have to say, it's hard to argue that a draw wasn't a fair result in the end because of their second half performance, the questionable offside for our second goal, questionable whether they should have had a penalty at the end, etc., etc. You could argue and say, if you're being honest, a draw was probably a fair result. But for me, if you isolate that game on its own and you look at it from start to finish, it does fall into that bracket for me as being one where I feel like we've dropped 2 points again. And time will tell in May when we look back at the season where we end up finishing. It may be games like this that we look back on and say it's losing. It's losing points in these sorts of games that maybe cost us in the end getting in the playoffs or whatever. We might still have enough to do it. You never know. But it was frustrating. It's that Joe Dobson chance, that first one. Like I said before, if he puts that away at 2-1, game's done. Yeah. And I think if we end up not getting in the playoffs and we end up staying in this division for next season, that's the kind of scenario where going forward we need to get better. We need to get better. You said it at the start about going after teams more when we take the lead and going to get a second and a third, which we don't do a lot of. We a lot of the time we keep the handbrake on. And I think I understand why Parky does it. I think credit to him this season. I think he has adapted the way he plays, and we do play a lot better football now. I've said a few times that over the last few years, even though we've been very, very successful, that I don't particularly enjoy watching us play a lot of the time. But this season we've got better and better and better, and we're playing better and better. But when we take the lead, we are still generally very defensive. And I think that's something that we're going to have to trust in the attacking options and the creative players that we've got, and we're going to have to try and be more ruthless with teams. But look, like that says, he's right. He is right. The bottom line is a point away from home. You should be happy with it.
And now it's time for the away day Footy Scran Review.
So it's Tuesday night. Try again. It's Tuesday night. That means Bristol City away. Freezing cold tonight. Bristol City away. But the good thing is, of course, that means it's an away day Footy Scran Review. If you look here, they've got a fantastic fan zone behind me, which has got loads of stuff. And I've gone for sausage and chips. Classic sausage and chips. £10. £10. It doesn't look special. £10. Anyway, we'll give it a try. I'll let you know what it's like on the town. Well, what can we say about the sausage and chips? I think this probably says it all. I've not finished them. chips were not nice. Processed oven chips. Just really poor quality. The sausage really was the only thing that kind of pulled it up a little bit, because the sausage was quite nice. Good quality sausage, but chips were nasty. I'm going to give it 3 out of 10 fryers, because at £10 you'd expect better than that. You really would. Very, very disappointing. Anyway, hopefully the result will be better. Come here. Up the town! And the result wasn't better. And you like a good sausage, Daz. I know you do.
Thank you.
That was those chips were horrendous. They were for £10. Dreadful. I mean, you expect to pay a bit of a premium because it's a football game, and that's fine. I can stock that. But for £10, I'd want decent chips, not something that come from Iceland's bargain bucket. Chucked in a fryer for 5 minutes and put on a cardboard plate.
All I can say is those chips must have been shit if you left some.
I left most of them.
Which is, I mean, they must have been really shit.
Which makes 3 sounds really generous.
Only because the sausage was a proper Cumberland sausage. It wasn't like the usual crappy chip shop ones. It was a really good quality one, and that's what pulled it up for me. Apart from that, it was absolute poo pants, to be honest. Let's look at the footy scran table. So Bristol get 3 fryers out of 10, so they are second from bottom. Next to Wobbly Stadium. Swansea still at the top.
It must have been bad if it's worse than Blackburn. Jesus.
I know, because you ate that pie and you said it was crap, but you gave it 3 and out. They were terrible. Swansea and Ipswich at the top. Stoke, Queen's Park Rangers, Britten Ferries, Lansdowne, Sheffield, Southampton, Aberystwyth, Leicester, Blackburn, and Bristol. I'm hoping to do one when I go to the women's game, Banger. So let's see what they can do from that point of view. But yeah, I was massively disappointed. Bristol, hang your head in shame, because those weren't chips; they were bits of concrete chucked in a fryer.
On the plus side, you got to wear your special hat. Bless you.
Special hat. You did a cartoon for me. You did a cartoon for me this week, so yeah, it was lovely. Thanks. For that.
Yeah.
It's really good. Really good. Now on the 8 More Chips podcast, it's time for today's newspaper, tomorrow's chip paper. We catch up on Cymru and Wrexham football news. First up, Wrexham Academy had 2 games this week. On Saturday, they were at Port Vale Youth and lost 1-0. Then on Tuesday, they went up to Carlisle United Youth and lost 2-1. Wrexham's goal scored by Joe Rees. Those results put them third in the table, 7 points now behind leaders Preston. On Sunday, while the Wrexham senior women's side were heading back to the North Wales, Wrexham under-19s women hosted Cardiff City under-19s women in the Adran under-19s Premier Conference and won 5-2. Wrexham goals, a hat-trick by Indy Griffiths and 2 from Grace Morris, who's a fantastic player at under-19 level. She also assisted one of the goals as well, so she's got 2 goals and an assist. Wrexham are 4th in the table, 6 points, 2 points off Barry Town under-19s at the top. But they do have a game in hand. Their next game is this Saturday, 21st of February, kick-off 2 p.m. GMT against Carmarthen Town away. Jamie, Wrexham Academy first, 2 losses, now 7 points behind Preston. That's got to hurt their league title now, because we're getting really towards the end of the season.
Yeah, but it's football, isn't it? You know, you win some, you lose some. It's all part of the learning curve.
I could have got a tramp off the street to give me that one. Oh, it's football, isn't it?
Well, it is. What do you want me to say? I can't see these games. I don't watch these games. You know, they've had some incredible...
Are you disappointed as I am? I'm disappointed.
Well, yeah, of course, because you want the team, you want any arm of the club and team to be successful at any level. But they've had some phenomenal results this season. They've had some really good, some really good highs this season. For whatever reason, they've had a couple of bad results. It's all part of the learning curve when at this kind of age level. The defeats are part and parcel of the game, aren't they? What they hope now is that they learn from defeats and analyze what went wrong in the games and try and improve them and try and put them right in the next games.
Well, Daz, the big game really is midweek. They're away at Aston Villa in the 5th round of the FA Youth Cup. I mean, that's going to be quite a baptism of fire, isn't it, to take on a team like Aston Villa?
Yeah. I mean, we were talking earlier about how the big clubs, the Prem clubs, will have these squads, will have squads with depth, and these youngsters are often training, the same facilities there or thereabouts. So they're going to be well drilled, well prepared, and some phenomenal talent. So that'll be a real test. But what have you got to lose? You got to just go in there, play the game that you've been training, and you just got to try your best. But you would assume that a quality side like Villa, might be a bit too much. So but it could be, containment, managing, being really difficult to beat. They're different disciplines, different skills. So let's see what they can come up with.
And Daz, on the women's under-19s, I mean, this new league that the FAW now set up, where they've kind of gone, right, we've reached the end of phase one. Let's now just take the top 8 teams, north and south, put them together into one big 8 league team. And you do have teams in there like Carmarth and teams that you wouldn't normally see at the kind of top level. And I think it's really paying dividends to the under-19s, because the problem with the under-19s north is there's only 3 teams in that league, and they were kind of, there wasn't a lot of game time, decent game time for them where they could have an opposition that would test them. I mean, these guys took on Cardiff on Sunday, beat them 5-2. They can do what the seniors can't do by beating other Welsh teams, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's good. If your academy sides or your youth sides are performing well and scoring goals and competing, and again against a rival club with the same infrastructure and the same finances, it feels like it's on a par. Then that's a good indicator. I think the challenge with all of these is, of course, travel. I mean, I get why they regionalize this. So the travel that's involved, and I'm assuming that all of these under-19 players are either school kids, college kids, and they've all, it's hard to train, it's hard to travel, it's hard to fit it all in. So it takes its toll, and so fair play to the players that sign up for this and the performances they're putting in. So to be able to have got a nice little, I don't know, is it a bit of forewarning that Wrexham are there to mean business against Cardiff? Then fingers crossed.
Woohoo, let's hope so. Rhian Wilkinson has announced her squad for the opening 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup qualifying matches, away to Czechia and home to Montenegro at Parker Scarlett Llethley. An international friendly at Rodney Parade in 2019 was the last time Cymru played Czechia, and Cymru last faced Montenegro in 2014 during the 2015 Women's World Cup qualifying campaign. 3 uncapped players feature in the squad, including Plymouth Argyle duo Olivia Francis and Phoebe Poole. Lois Joel and Poppy Soper return to the squad following injuries. Laura Hughes, who earned her first cap for Cymru against Switzerland in December, misses out due to injury. And the qualifying campaign will start at the City Stadium in, I'm not going to be able to say this, Rudze Hradce. Against Czechia on the Tuesday.
I didn't know it was in Scotland.
Very funny. Tuesday 3rd of March, kick-off 5:30 p.m. GMT, and ahead of the match against Montenegro in Llanelli on Saturday, the 7th of March, kick-off 4:30 p.m. GMT. You funny buggers. So that's the footy scramble. So the squad in full: Olivia Clark, Safia Middleton Patel, Poppy Soper, Hannah Kane, Charlie Escort, Gemma Evans, Olivia Francis, Marit Griffiths, Kerry Holland, Elise Hughes, Sophie Ingle and Harrod James, Lois Joel, Carrie Jones, Hayley Ladd, Esther Morgan, Fionn Morgan, Mary McAteer, Phoebe Poole, Ella Powell, Rhian Roberts, Mia Ross, Rachel Rowe, Tiana Taysar, Liddy Woodham and Gwen Zimmerman. Daz, lots of great talk from Rhian this week, launching this, basically saying the team are hungry. It's like a fresh start. They want to get out there. They want to prove things out. This is what you want to hear, isn't it? Because they had a torrid time last year, winning only 1 game out of 13, I think it was. And this is the perfect start to reset, isn't it? Because they're now in League B, so they're now against opposition where they've got a better chance. You can see there from the squad, it's pretty much a full fit squad. Good signs, really. Good signs.
Yeah. I mean, I think context, they were playing top teams in major tournaments, Pool A of the League of Nations. So, let's put context into it. There's a lot of teams that would have struggled to have won any of those games along the way. So I think we have to be a little bit fair on the team. And so, but now that sort of the being in Pool B, they've got to now sort of forget all of that and readdress it, and and begin to get their confidence, get their swagger. Yes, we've got qualifiers to come as well, and so that that's exciting, and to be able to draw on your full team in a team post Jess Fishlock, which is a new era, and yet it isn't post Jess Fishlock, because of course she announced that she's part of her coaching staff, which That's we great. All knew that. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I mean, I think it's all. We knew that was the would be the end outcome at some point. Whether or not that's immediately, that's nice. It's great to hear that she's on board, because all that wisdom, experience, passion, and just that legendary status, to have somebody like that on your helping you with your training in the dressing room. Yes, we've got Sophie Ingle, we've got Kerry Holland, we've got Hannah Kane, all of these top names that play week in, week out, but to be able to have somebody of that stature is fantastic. So yeah, I think if you've got a reasonably first team, first choice, I mean, there's some, and it's great to see some new talent coming through as well. And I think that was part of that transition. Although the year was full of defeats, it has been a year of transition from the old guard to new guard, and there's been a lot more of the younger players, the newer players. I would like to see a lot of them get more game time in their club sides, or whether or not they get the moves they deserve to top teams. But there's a lot of youth there, and you've got players that are playing at good teams in the Women's Premier League, but most of them are going to be second division, the second tier, and so can we build on that? Can we get more talent up the table, so that they're playing week in, week out against the better teams? That I think that would be the goal. Obviously, we've seen it with the men's. When we have some quality players playing in the Prem week in, week out, there's an upshift. And yes, if you have a superstar in Gareth Bale, but it makes a difference when your core team is Prem. But with good drills, good training, good tactics, we've seen Bellamy take a team of championship players and that second tier players, and really built an amazingly difficult team to beat. I think Wilco's got a chance to do something similar here. Some quality players in there, but if with good tactics and passion and discipline, I think that's the thing. I think that's the difference. I think they could do really well.
Well, now we've changed the fact for the first time this season. It's time to open the chip shop. Daz and Jamie are like tightly coiled springs as opposed to well-oiled machines, although I don't think Daz has all that Guinness out of his system, so I think he's a bit more well-oiled than we probably like him to be, if you know what I'm saying. Let's look at last week's chip shop table.
It's definitely water, by the way. Yeah.
Okay, no, fair enough. That's fair enough. And Daz is the happiest one of the three of us. I mean, we all predicted a Ipswich Town win, and Wrexham duly won. So thanks to that, Wrexham. The Swansea game was called off, so no points for that. But Daz correctly predicted that Tuesday's game would be a draw, whereas Jamie and I were a little bit more optimistic and thought Wrexham would win. Daz obviously gets the point for the draw, so he moves 1 point away from me and 1 point closer to Jamie. But there's still Jamie's still 8 points in the lead. Daz obviously is 2 points in the lead on me, but it's still all to play for. It's still all to play for. I'm going to say that every week. Every week, still all to play for. So first into the fryer tonight, it's a bit of a repeat dish. It's Ipswich Town. So after their meet-up in the Cup last week, it's time for a league meet-up as Wrexham and Ipswich play again at the Stoke Kairas, kick-off 3 p.m. GMT this Saturday. Ipswich are currently fourth in the table with 54 points, 7 points off an automatic promotion place, but with 2 games in hand of the 3 teams that are above them. And the chips are done. So, Jamie, we said earlier on, Ipswich made 10 changes. They definitely prioritised the league game. Well, here's the league game. How much of a backlash are Wrexham going to get?
You'd expect it to be a very different challenge. Like you say, 10 changes, like we said before, 10 changes. So there'll be a number of changes again for this league game. They obviously didn't have a game in the week, so they've not had a game since they played us last. What I found really, I was very aware of the fact that Ipswich obviously maybe didn't have the start to the season that a lot of us anticipated they would, but they have gradually got better and better and better, creeped up the league. And like you said, they're now on 54 points, but with 2 games in hand, they're going to be there or thereabouts for the automatics. The bit that, when I was doing a bit of looking into Ipswich, the bit that really got me, surprised me a little bit, was the fact that they are joint. They have the joint lowest goals conceded in the league. 29 goals from 30 games in the league. The joint with Stoke. They're the best in the top 6. It's only Stoke that have got the same. So that tells you that defensively they're good. Everything about the game tells me or says that Ipswich are going to be a much better, they're going to be much better this week. They're going to be much more at it this week. They're going to be well up for it. They're going to want to put, the defeat wrong. Obviously, they didn't get a win against us at their place, so they're going to want to put that right. They're going to want to keep pace with the people above them. Everything's saying Ipswich are going to be, the team to beat. I just don't know. I sometimes come into these and I say I've got a bad feeling. And as much as my brain is telling me that everything it should be Ipswich, I don't know. I've got a sneaky feeling that we're gonna really turn up on Saturday. I don't know why.
I mean, Daz, lots been made about Ipswich and their squad and how incredible it is, and strengthening depth and whatever. And we've got a good squad, but we don't have the riches that Ipswich do have. And we did a bit of rotation from the cup game, but how much rotation now are you expecting Wrexham to have? Because they did play that midweek. There are going to be, particularly the back 3. I'm thinking, they slogged for 180 minutes across the 2 games. How much can Wrexham do?
Yeah, no, I the assumption is that those 10-player changes, that's got to be a benefit, but equally, I just think sometimes players who play regularly play together all the time. They keep that momentum going, whether or not the energy levels, the recovery is. It is when you have midweek games in between games like this, it's always going to take its toll. But sometimes you see teams that. And historically, there used to be a time when teams were just playing the same, core team, and they would just keep getting the results because they had familiarity. They had that shorthand, and sometimes that worked.
Liverpool, the 80s, always got me. They turn out same 11 again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah. I mean, of course, if your opponents are doing the same, the same number of games, that's fair. I get it, but and so Ipswich didn't have to play a midweek game, so they've now had that chance to recover. But I think the fact that they played a different team, a different squad selection, could have disrupted some of that momentum. You can never be sure in those moments. But he's obviously doing something right in terms of working their way up the table, like Jamie said. I'd missed the 2 games in hand, initially. That's a really good spot. So they are literally knocking on the automatic. So then they are clearly all set and ready to go for a big push in this league. But you're the home team. And if you can get those goals early on, and get the crowd on side, let's assume that does make a difference. Regardless of what the conversation is about atmospheres, I just think if you get the some sort of reward for that early pressure, I think I think you can hold your own. Whether or not this is going to be a win, I don't know, but I think it'll be a close match. I do think it'll be a really, really tight game, and just made even more juicy just because of the fact that there's been this FA Cup game.
Are you two playing mind games with each other? Because you're both far too optimistic than I was expecting. But there you go. What do I know? So time for the salt, vinegar, and sauce score. Jamie, what's your score prediction for Wrexham versus Ipswich Town?
Every fibre in my brain is saying
you have a brain?
Win. An Ipswich win.
Right.
But I don't know why. And clip this up and it may come back to bite me in the bollocks. 3-1 Wrexham win.
Oh my, there's no chance of that. There is no chance. Daz, what's your score prediction for Wrexham versus Ipswich Town? I think my brother's lost sanity temporarily, so I might have to get him sectioned.
I mean, I love the optimism, but it's the swing from an Ipswich win to a 3-1.
I don't know why. I don't know why.
I hope you're right. Listen, I hope you're right. I really do hope you're right.
Well, right. Hey, guys, you're never going to believe this, but I've also written down Wrexham 1, and that's what I've written down. And then, but I've also put down I've also gone for Ipswich 1.
There we go. Well, no surprise there. You didn't draw, and I think it's going to be Wrexham 0, Ipswich 2. I think you're both being delusional. I think Ipswich will come to town. They will have a point to prove. They will have rested players. They'll run out Joe Clark. Joe Clark will score at least 2, and we won't score any, and we'll be up against it, because you're absolutely right about their defensive record. It's superb. And I think 2-0, and we'll walk away, lick our wounds, and hope that we can get a win against Portsmouth, and get 3 points out this week, because that would be a result. 3 points out this week, I think. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And next into the fryer tonight, it's Cardiff City Women. So Sunday sees the first major final of the season as Wrexham Women and Cardiff City Women meet at Nantporth, which is the Bangor City Stadium on the North Wales coast, for the Gennaro Adran Trophy Final. Kick-off this Sunday, 5 p.m. GMT. So far this season, these two teams have met twice, with a 1-1 draw and a 2-1 Cardiff win being the results. In the last, this is where stats are a bit weird. If the last 13 meetings, Wrexham have lost 10, drawn 1, and won 2. Not fantastic. But in the last 5 meetings, Wrexham have won 2, lost 2, and drawn 1. Much better. This game is the first of 3 games in a row versus each other. Adran Trophy first, a league game next week, and then the Butte Energy Welsh Cup semi-final at a neutral venue the week after. Tickets are still available for this game, £5. But if you can't make it, the game will be live on Scoria and Scoria on YouTube. And the chips are done. So Daz, first chance for some glinty stuff this season. We both know that these are the 2 top teams in Welsh women's football. There's no doubt about that. I know people are saying Swansea. No, sorry, not for me. These are the 2. Great final to have. What are you expecting? Close, edgy, or all guns going out, basketball style, end to end?
I am expecting an attacking game. Whether or not it'll have a basketball score, of my predictions, it's the one that I've still left blank. I normally have them all written out in advance. I have still yet to make my decision on this one. I can't place it. I think this is huge. I mean, yep. Your stats about head-to-heads. Let's forget anything beyond this. Previous to. I mean, maybe last year could be included, but this year is a different year. It's a different management. Significant change in personnel, and the season has proven that Wrexham are matching Cardiff all the way through this league, even in the games, a draw and a narrow defeat, really narrow defeat. So you can't say that Cardiff are the favourites yet. Probably Cardiff are the favourites only on the basis that they've got history of winning games. They know how to compete in finals. They know the big occasions. They've experienced them many times. Because of course, Wrexham
the bigger
lost.
They are, the harder they fall.
Potentially. I mean, yeah, you've got experience. Semi-final defeats. Was it Swansea last year? I think, or something. Yeah. So that's got to hurt. And so some of the memory is in some of the squad of there, but actually, like I said, new squad, they don't know any different. So there could be this brilliant naivety and optimism that goes, why not? It's just a one-off game. And yes, you won't have to travel as far. Bangor is significantly further away from Cardiff. So in terms of, which is nice because it's usually Newport and you guys have had to do the traveling before. So, it makes it, there's an element of fairness, but it's about taking turns, that, and that's a positive. But I do think this is going to be an attacking game. I do think both teams' strengths are their goal scoring. Both have done reasonably well at keeping tight defenses and keeping their goals conceded to a minimum, but not completely. There aren't enough shutouts really in this tournament. Totally winning 6-0, 9-0, whatever it is. But we're talking minnows there. When you're competing against decent teams, they have conceded. On the route to what was it, quarterfinals, Aberystwyth 2-2. So it's not. So it wouldn't surprise me if there were goals in this and a decent number of goals.
Jamie, no Rosie Hughes, obviously, because she unfortunately got a red card in the last round, so she can't play. We've obviously got new players, and the fact that Sunday's game was called off means we couldn't get a chance to even see any of them do any minutes, so they've not played a single minute. But we obviously, Michaela obviously has started twice now in the back, but we've obviously got Maria now, the new signing from TNS, and we've got Sarah, who's the new signing from Lewis. Are you expecting to see any of the new players? Do you think Jenny will gamble, putting on new players who have no game time at all, or will she stick with the tried and tested kind of backline and maybe give them some minutes later on, depending on what's happening?
It's a big call, isn't it? I mean, two very important new signings, obviously two signings that she felt she needed to make. But it's a big gamble to put them in first game in a final, isn't it? I'd be surprised, but obviously I don't train with them or kind of have an insight into it. You have to just trust Jenny Sugarman's judgment on that if she chooses to put one or both of them in. My gut feeling for this game, with it being a final, is she'll go with a more with the defense that we're kind of more used to, rather than the new signings. But it wouldn't surprise me if one or both of them.
Do you think she'd be tempted with Maria because Maria's come from TNS, so she knows this division? She won the Adran Trophy last year with TNS. I mean, is there a temptation there to pop her in?
I think the problem that you've got is that you're asking the fact she knows the league, the fact that she's won this trophy before, is kind of irrelevant in the sense of you're asking her to come into a brand new team. Yes, she knows the league, but she's new to the team. Brand new team in a final against the best team in the league, the joint best team in the league, whichever way you want to look at it. It's a big ask, But again, if the fact that Swansea game was called off, they've had how long's it been since the last game now? Or how long will it have been?
Well, Carmarthen will be 2 weeks on Sunday.
She will have had 2 weeks to obviously, I don't know how often they get to train and stuff, but
twice a week normally.
I don't think the fact that she is from this league and has won this trophy really has any bearing on whether she should be selected or not. I think ultimately she'll be selected if Jenny thinks that's the right thing to do. Be brave, be brave to pick her for first game in a final.
You intimated it earlier, Daz. What wins Wrexham this game? Is it keeping Cardiff out of our goal, or trading blow for blow and outscoring Cardiff to get more goals than them?
Can't they do both? I want
to win the game. No.
I know. I know what you mean. I mean, the thing is, we know Cardiff can concede, but they are very difficult. They haven't conceded in this tournament, but they have conceded in the league. So I think it's the difference that Wrexham have is that they've got players like Katie Barker, who's scoring for fun. Admittedly, Cardiff got a good couple of players that can do the same. But let's establish that, Wrexham, one of the few teams that have got the firepower to get through that Cardiff defence. But what wins you the league is the Wrexham defence. The cup final. Sorry, what wins you this cup final is if your defence can just hold out that attack. I do think Wrexham have got enough firepower up front, in different forms, great crosses, whether it's Knox, whether it's Barker, but Jones coming through from midfield. They've got options. I love the fact that you've got those options. If you can stay organised, stay disciplined, and keep Cardiff at bay, just keep them, and then I think that's the platform that wins you the cup final.
Jamie, the club have done a fantastic thing by basically giving away 500 tickets for the final and putting on 2 buses from Wrexham to Bangor and back again for free. So, I mean, that's great, isn't it? I mean, if the men were in a cup final, that Wrexham would try and do the same thing, try and go out and make sure fans can get there. The fact they've done this to the women, that's got to be an advantage, that we're going to be in North Wales and potentially there could be 500 plus Wrexham fans supporting the team, whereas there will be a minibus from Canton full from Cardiff, taking up a small corner. I mean, that's got to be an advantage, isn't it?
For sure. I think credit to the club for doing it. There's obviously a cost involved to doing it. It's a nice touch. It's also very clever by the club. Granted there is a cost to it, but it's very clever because, as we well know from watching football at any level, the crowd can be a 12th man. And I know Wrexham have got the ultras who mind-blowing support. Really, the fact that they travel up and down the breadth of Wales to watch the ladies in all conditions, in fields a lot of the time is incredible, and to all of them that do it, hats off to them. I know you go to a lot of games, so fair play to you. I think if I did have a look on the website. I unfortunately I can't go. I would have loved to have tried to have gone, but I can't make the timings work, unfortunately. But when I had a quick look on the website, and the section on the website, tickets said sold out.
Yeah, they've all gone.
So if that means that's 500 at least, then that's going to be, that's got to be.
I mean, what's the capacity of Nan Portsmouth? I mean, capacity of Nan Portsmouth must be what, 3,000, 4,000? Probably.
Oh, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, it's one of these small grounds that it doesn't have even a stand on one side because it's right up against the Menai Straits. So
it's beautiful ground, lovely location.
Either way, if we're saying that there's going to be 500 plus Wrexham fans, like you say, Cardiff are going to have nowhere near that, are they? So that's got to be an advantage, and I'm sure that Jenny will tap into that as part of her, team talk and preparation for the ladies before the game, and I'm sure the players will respond to it as well. We know from previous seasons, the likes of Lily Jones, where she's spoken about when the big crowds turn up, how much of a yes, it's daunting for them because they're not used to playing in front of bigger crowds, but they get a big buzz from it. So, yeah, a great move, a nice touch. I think a genuinely nice touch from the club, but also a very clever move, I think, as well. And let's just hope it goes in our favour.
Because it's one of the grounds that's being used for the under 19 the away for under 19s, isn't it? So right. Obviously it's had some investment, and I'm sure it'll look absolutely pristine. I'm sure on the day.
1,158 seated of that. So there's the 3,000 ground. So yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
No, it should be. I'm going, and I'm going on the supporters coach. I'm going to drive to Wrexham, and then I'm going to get on the supporters coach and bob up the Sharabang up the coast, because I think it'll be a great laugh, and truly looking forward to it. So time for the salt, vinegar and sauce coach. Daz, time to write down your score finally. What's your score prediction for Wrexham Women versus Cardiff City Women.
I don't know. Okay. I'm writing it down. And only because if I don't write this score, I suppose it contradicts everything I just said. Okay. I have gone for, I'm sorry guys, I'm going for Cardiff 3, Wrexham 2.
Oh. Jamie, what's your score prediction for Wrexham Women versus Cardiff City Women?
I'm laughing because I've gone for a Wrexham 3, Cardiff 2.
And I'm predicting Wrexham 2, Cardiff 1. I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be a really tough game. It's going to be close. Cardiff are a very, very good side, but this is our time. You know, we've led this from the beginning. Jenny Sugarman coming in. We all had a moan about how come there's no comms? Where's the players? Why hasn't our players got contracts? Everything went very, very quiet. Jenny came in, hit the ground running, took all the players from last season, lifted them up, brought them up to a better level than they were the season before, brought in some fantastic players. I mean, Katie Barker and Jodie and Maz are an absolute masterstroke because they're such great players, way above what this league, strictly speaking, should be. But it will bring everything else up to it. And all dynasties fall. And I think this is our time. This is Cardiff's time to fall to the wayside. And this is what a time to do it. What a perfect place to do it. And I think Wrexham 2, Cardiff 1. And
all
then
right,
I'm going to
Skeletor. Christ.
And I'm going to jump into the Menai Straits and swim over to Ireland and grab Daz a Guinness and bring it back to celebrate it. So let's.
Bullshit! You couldn't swim it on the length of the bath.
It's a long way around as well.
So let's
run to Halleth or somewhere first and get the other side. I don't know.
So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And last into the fryer tonight, it's Portsmouth. So Wednesday, stay at home midweek as we welcome Portsmouth and Stoke Kerras. Tuesday, 24th February, kick-off 7:45 p.m. GMT. Last time we played them, a fairly dull 0-0 draw at Fratton Park on bonfire night. Since then, Portsmouth have flirted with the relegation zone, although they have had a little bit of a recent turn up for the books in the last few weeks. They're currently 19th, 9 wins, 9 draws, 13 losses, goal difference of -10, 36 points, 4 points from the relegation zone. Their last 5 league results: a 1-1 draw at home to Southampton. That was a fiery game. Obviously, Southampton and Portsmouth. A 3-0 win away from home at West Brom. A 3-0 win at home to West Brom. A 1-0 loss away at Preston. A 1-0 loss at home to Sheffield United. And a 3-1 win away at Charlton Athletic. And the chips are done. So, Jamie, as we've said before, games now coming thick and fast. We've had a FA Cup game, which was fairly insipid. We had a Bristol City game where maybe we should have won, but we're happy with the draw. We've got a tough Ipswich game at home, and then we're back at home again against Portsmouth, a team right down near the bottom. This surely we should get 3 points from this, shouldn't we?
You've got to be careful. We've got to be careful. We've done this before, where you take the position of the opposition being lower down the league and think it's going to be an easy 3 points. I've got us down for a win for this game, but I think it's going to be a tough game. And I think it's going to be a tough game because of what you've just reeled off there. I think, we've had Ipswich in the Cup. 3 days later, we've had a trickier game away to Bristol City. 4 days after that, we're going to be playing Ipswich again at home. And then 3 days after that, we're then at home against Portsmouth. And a lot of these players are going to be the same players, going to play a lot of minutes in these games because, yes, we rotate, but 6 of the players probably will be the same and will play the bulk of minutes in all the games. And, I think what this season's shown us as well is the fact that we do struggle a little, or we have struggled a little bit more against the kind of lower teams. But again, let's be honest about it. At home, given the position that we're at in the league, where they're at in the league, if we, regardless of whether we've got aspirations to finish in the playoffs or not, this is a game we should be winning. You can never take anything as a given in football, and certainly not in the Championship. But this is a game that I think we should be winning.
Again, does not sound like a stuck record, but again, Portsmouth. I just think of FA Cup winners, Harry Redknapp. You know, they were a top side, and they've really struggled. I mean, are you surprised as I am, or are you kind of thinking, well, no, that's football?
No, I think they've also had some, some ownership matters in terms of, what was his name?
Mandaric.
Mandaric.
Milan Mandaric.
That's him. There was a time where he was throwing the money around, and obviously they was able to get quite the side together. That's not happening at the moment. So let's park that history. They are probably where, I'm not saying where they should be, but it's a there or thereabouts where this team now, with the resources that they've got, I just feel that that's a team who, yeah, I'm sure they would love to, to recall their heyday and have the the likes of Crouches and players, winning significant games in important matches, but that's long gone. So no, I think you're right. I think this is. I've also got this down as a Wrexham win. I think this is one of those teams where you should be beating teams from that part of the division if you're competing for those playoff places. What was the result last time around? Was it 0-0? Do you say
0-0? Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah,
really
crap. So obviously on any given day, any team can turn up, and as you know, Wrexham have a sort of a target on their back for the Hollywood matches. So, I would expect Portsmouth to put in a shift, but from current form, from the results they've had, you'd like to think that Wrexham have got this, but just be careful. I think
they played really well on Saturday, didn't they? And I noticed that a certain Wrexham defender who's currently playing for Charlton got some absolute pelters. And I'm just thinking, well, there goes the honeymoon. I hope you enjoyed it.
To be fair, I watched the Charlton game against QPR, and I thought he played really well.
Yeah.
In that defensive midfield role. But yeah, you're right. I think the honeymoon was definitely over because he got pulled off at half time, didn't he?
He did. He did.
Isn't Portsmouth? Isn't the Portsmouth famous Portsmouth fan the guy with the tattoos and the pin badges? Isn't he? Yeah, there you go. So they are, mate. A blue version of you.
Fuck off. So time to the salt, vinegar, and sauce cork. I'll go first on this one. It has to be a win for me because I don't think we're going to get any points from Saturday. We need 3 points this week just to try and keep bubbling over. So I think it's going to be Wrexham 2, Portsmouth 1. I think it'll be tough because Wrexham like to make it tough. We've not spanked anybody all season. We've not gone to somebody and rolled them over. So I think whatever happens, it's going to be a bit of a slug. But there you go. We'll take it because we've got Charlton after that, and hopefully we'll be able to do Charlton as well, and that'll be fine. Jamie, what's your score prediction for Wrexham versus Portsmouth?
I've gone for a 2-0 Wrexham win.
Nice. Daz, what's your score prediction for Wrexham versus Portsmouth?
I've written 2-0 down, but do I change that because of this blasted league? Do I change it, or do I just... No, I'm going to stick with 2-0. I feel that that's the right result, and then if it is a bullseye, then he doesn't get that further ahead. We stay close, but I need to. I'm hoping that the other game.
I'm going to say you're going to need to start putting some moves on him because we're
but that's what we've got on the Ipswich game, isn't it? We've got one of each, haven't we? We've got a home win, and away win, and we've got a draw.
Someone's going to get something.
So that's the game where I'll get my points this week. Thank you guys, and then I'll match you for the points this for the other game. There we go.
Lovely.
Prediction made.
Lovely. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm, and we'll be looking back at all three of these games in next week's pod. Close the book. Time for another week to end. Next week, we look back at Wrexham versus Ipswich, Wrexham versus Portsmouth, and hopefully celebrate a victory in the cup final for the women versus Cardiff City. We'll look forward next week as well to going to the Cardiff City Stadium for the next instalment of Wrexham Women versus Cardiff City Women, the drama that never seems to end. Wrexham Men are away at Charlton Athletic, and Cymru Women start their World Cup qualifying campaign away at Welshtechie. As usual, please, of course, leave your comments, questions on YouTube, Spotify, whatever it may be. Stick it to a train, stick it to a dog that happens to be running past, put it on the inside of a plane, and I'll get some binoculars and I'll read it. Whichever way you think, we don't mind. Any way you can send it to us is absolutely fine. My thanks, of course, to these two reprobates. Lovely to see you, Daz, this week. How was Ireland, by the way? You're looking sprightly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm working when I'm there. By the way, it may sound like a jolly. It was knackering though.
Yeah.
My travel plans were. I got a bit optimistic and decided to get some early flights, and that just meant I was hanging before I even got there. So yeah.
Excellent. Well, look on the bright side. At least you didn't have to go and watch the rugby, because that's going to be horrendous. Yes.
Oh, I'm more optimistic about the Scottish game coming up, though. I think the Scots are going to be complacent, and I think if we played as well as we did against the French, against the English, we'd have already got some points. I think the French team are just sublime, and we just have to accept that was just a masterclass in world rugby. I think it'll be closer than you think against Scotland. That's what
Have you heard a bang on the head? Did you not watch them against England last week? They were fantastic, Scotland.
Yeah, but that's because they raised the game against England, the Calcutta Cup. Like how many years have England not won the Calcutta Cup? It's always Scotland.
Mate,
I'm optimistic.
Just go to the local kitchen store and go and buy a wooden spoon now. You might as well, because even Italy are doing better than we are this year. Write it off, because you might as well write it off until the WRU sort themselves out. Write it off.
I don't doubt that, but let's back the boys. I think I saw shoots of promise in that game against.
Never mind
against
that.
France.
Go and buy a neat Swansea Osprey shirt, because they're going to be worth a lot of money soon when you can't get one anymore.
I'm really sad about that, and I still and I hope it doesn't happen. But anyway.
It's gonna. Anyway, and of course to Jamie, we've got a lovely Saturday. Looking forward to a lovely Saturday, haven't we? We're going to go.
Yes, I am.
We're going to go do the game, and then we're going to go to a restaurant in Chester that serves meat, loads of meat, which is great.
And the only downside is in Chester.
Yeah, well, I'll wear my Wrexham shirt. I don't care, me. But I'm looking forward to that, because you've been there and you said it was awesome.
Yeah,
it's South African restaurant.
South African meat, yeah. What's not
Sounds great. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully we can get a win as well, which would be great. Don't listen to me. I'm just a negative Nelly. But obviously, thank you to you two. Thank you, Daz.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jamie.
Pleasure.
I've been Welshtechie. Really looking forward to Sunday. Best of luck to Wrexham Women. You can do this. We're all behind you. Bring home the trophy. Let's do it. Let's stick one on Cardiff. And then we can go on and we can win the Welsh Cup and we can win the league, take the treble and take all the glory. And until we see you next week, come on, Cymru, come on, Wrexham Women, and come on, the town.
Clinton, 4-0. Thomas, after like a goal. That's number 5. Plays it through to Bellamy. Craig Bellamy. It's 2-1 Wales. Craig Bellamy. Tony Hughes for Wrexham into the lead.
And that's it! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are the FA Trophy winners 2013!
Alex Cross, great ball! Equaliser! Elliot Lee! Back promotions! Oh, can you believe it?
The Eat More Chips Podcast.